And you know, it's the same thing as boxers and especially judokas when they're fighting and jiu-jitsu. You both know all the same moves. The only thing is, you know what he's going to do, but you're not going to let him do it. That's all it is. It's only
that's exactly right.
Off guard. But look, I worked with Stone Cold Steve Austin on the movie The Condemned, and you know, we're talking about his injury to his neck, and Jimmy Superfly Snooker. We worked with him years back when he came to Melbourne. And he was saying, you know, there was a time where his big thing was flying off the top rope. And he said he missed it by an inch and then shattered his shoulder, you know. Stone Cold broke his neck. Lucky it didn't go any serious. There's a lot of pro wrestlers have broken their necks and some have died in the ring. So, it's entertainment. But it is a high-risk professional business.
It is. It is. And only the tough survive. Now, I've got a story, and this involves you. It was within the first few years of me and getting into professional wrestling, and there was a couple of you, including Frank Carpenter and Joe Villa, that used to come down from Adelaide to do Dom's shows, and that's how I first got to meet you. You know, and then like the first time I met you was down in Carlton on Rathdown. It was a little Italian club, and you walked in there, and here's this massive guy, long black hair, you know. Dom introduces me to you, Mad Max Miller. It's like, that name alone is making me scared because I was only a young bloke just coming into it. But we had an outdoor event on Rathdown Street. I think it was a Lygon Street festa of some sort. And we're working, and you were working with this guy who has just come into it, big solid bloke. Look, to be honest, that was his probably fourth and last match. And they pitted you against him. And that was the first time I learnt the word potato. Because he had come in there and he's dropped his knee square into your ribs. And I saw the look on your face, and you've just gone up and just gone smack right in his eye. And it's like, you meant business. And I looked at George, Blade Runner, and I said, there's no way I'm stepping in a ring with this guy because I don't like the look of that. And then when they said potato, I had to ease into it, and it was like nice and easy, firm, but nice and easy. And then when we first stepped in the ring together, you were as my partner, and I thought, thank God he's my partner. But at the end of that match, you ended up socking me anyway because that's where I became a face from a heel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That was at the Reggio Club. So, but that was the first time when I saw you and you socked that guy, and it's like, potato. I have to remember never to give this guy a potato.
Yeah, I remember that. I was probably a lot bigger than what I am now. I think I was pushing a few roids and weights and.
You're a big bloke, mate. You're a big bloke, Andy.
Yeah, it was funny, but but you know, like, and it wasn't intentional. But I thought, well, if I don't teach him something without hurting him, he's going to do it to someone who will hurt him. Like, because me, I did that, but there's guys that were been in the business far longer than me and way tougher. And if you did something like that to them, they let you know in no uncertain manner, mate, that's not how the game goes. And if you didn't listen, they'd break something.
That's right.
You know, the shoot.
And that's what I loved about. That's what I loved about you, is because then later on, you walked up to the bloke and said, you know what, you did this, but you need to ease up a bit, you know. And I had to, otherwise. And you explained yourself, and we all listened because, you know, you've been in the business for such a long time, you know, before I got in there, that we had to listen, you know, and boy, did I listen.
Well, and say, mate, like, you know, when I've wrestled guys from overseas, like, you got to play the game because these guys were bigger and tougher and strong, and they've been around a long time. And, you know, they're not there. They're there for you. You're there for them. But the minute you started making it about you, bang, you're on.
Yeah.
Doug, now I'm sure you've got a few questions after listening to all that.
Yeah. What's your funniest memory of the ring?
The funniest memory of the ring. Okay. I was renowned for going into the crowd and getting the crowd involved a lot. And this one time I had gone into the crowd and there was a guy who was drinking beer and he had left it on the floor. So I had the seat next to him was vacant. So I sat there and I looked at his beer and I grabbed it and I sculled his beer and I finished it. And I thought, oh, well, this guy's probably going to start on me now because I've just drunk his beer. And he was cheering and so on. And that kicked off because we used to get regulars that come to all these shows, and word of mouth, everyone said, that's it. Psycho comes into the crowd and drinks everyone's beer. So then I just kept following that. So I'd go into the crowd, jump over the railings, and I would sit down next to someone who had a beer and I'd grab it out of their hands, or if it was on the floor, whatever, and I would drink their beer. And that's and that just stuck for years and years. So people would buy beer just for it to sit next to them, just in case I jumped over and I drank their beer. So it was a funny moment, and that just went on for years, and I loved it. And I got free grog.
That's hilarious, mate. I do remember that now. Yeah, I do. I do remember that was your. And look,
the other thing that I can say about us wrestlers is that, yes, we were entertainers and we got involved, sometimes we got into each other's face and so on. But the one thing that I learned about us is that we were family. And I remember this one trip that we did down in Maui. I don't know if you remember that one, Andy, but within the semi-main event, and I think it was you and Julio against, or was it, I think it was the main event, you and Julio, or you and Frank against Julio and Mario or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably it.
And both you and Frank used to get into everyone's face, like the crowd. You got them involved and you got them so hyped up and you got them so pissed off that one guy tried to run into the ring and grab you, and everyone from the dressing room had run out, and it was almost an all-in brawl. We had to stop the main event. Police were called, but we all stuck together, and that was great. That was family, and that's what I really loved. And I just thought about that now, So after all these years, we still communicate, we still talk to each other, and that's family.
Yeah, it is, mate. It absolutely is. That was hilarious. Hey, Dougie, you got some more? I'm sure you have, buddy.
Have you ever been hurt in a wrestling match?
Yeah, many times. I think probably the one that stands out the most was we were working at this little Italian venue in Ascot Vale, and it was the promoter was Sam Rossi, and I was in a match against a young fella by the name of Austin Young. And it was the Christmas show. So it was the last event of the year. So all these Christmas cards were handed out and in the dressing room. So I grabbed mine and I put it in my back pocket, forgetting that it was there. So I've gone out, my music's come on, I've gone out, Christmas cards still sticking out of my back pocket. And I've gone into this ring. Now the match had to go on for about 18 minutes. 3 minutes into the match, I've gone to the top rope and I've dropped a leg drop on Austin Young, and as I've landed, I must have landed awkwardly more to the left, and I felt this like a tear, like a break in my ribs, and my breathing. It was affecting my breathing after that. The pain. I had to wrestle 15 minutes because we couldn't end it there. Had to wrestle the full 15 minutes, finish the match. As soon as I walked up into the dressing room, I collapsed and I couldn't breathe. Ambulance came down. I had 3 fractured ribs from that one move, and that was it. And I left I had to leave my vehicle at the venue because I was taken away by the ambulance. So at 4:00 in the morning, they organised a taxi to drive me back down to the venue to collect my car. But what they had done is that my clothes had taken, my brother had taken all my clothes with me. I had no shirt, so I had to leave the hospital and hop into this taxi with no shirt. And I was just wearing my jeans with no shoes and socks. And luckily, I had my keys with me to get in the car, and get home. So yeah, it was a pretty funny moment, but it was probably the injury that I remember the most.
Wow.
That's really interesting how it was circumstantial.
Yeah. So it wasn't, look, it took a while to recover from that. You know, I don't know if you've ever had a broken rib, but it's very painful and there's not much you can do about it besides resting because it heals itself. But when you have 3, fractured ribs, the nights were really uncomfortable.
Do you still wrestle at all?
I do, but they don't book me as often. They look at the younger blokes now. They want to, sort of like push and promote the younger blokes. You know, I'm 52. I'm still very active, still fit. So I can still go and do a 20, 25, 30-minute match. I probably wrestle maybe twice a year now, but I still want to do more. So I still put myself out there. I message promoters, and say, hey, I'm still available. Get me out there. Give me a match and so on. But they would rather, go with the younger guys and promote them. But I can tell you now, I can set foot in that ring, and I'm quite sure Andy can too, and put these young blokes to shame.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever been attacked by an audience member?
That's
yes, mate.
Yeah, I have. I've been attacked many times.
Doug, I think we've probably run out of time. It doesn't mean we're not going to get Con back, and Con's going to send us some photos and some little video clips of matches, which we'll post up on the site, and we'll get you back. And hopefully, mate, because you've got a lot of contact, we'd love to be able to get a few of the boys that you still know and get maybe on a group one next time and go for a bit longer. 5 minutes and have a chat with all the boys. That'd be great.
Yeah, well, I'm still in contact with a lot of the guys, especially Blade Runner, George, and Jesse Valentine, Rob. So we're really close.
Yeah, I like Jesse. He was a good guy. Good guy.
He was. He was a good guy. And even when he tried to be bad, he was still good. So
I know.
But look, I'd be happy, I'd be happy to come back on, mate. It's been an honor and a pleasure, to speak to you guys, and I wish you all the best with the show.
Yeah, thanks, mate, and I appreciate it. And Doug, back to you, mate.
Alrighty, guys. We'd like to thank Con for appearing on Tales from the Mat. Great stories, a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll see him and Andy back in the wrestling ring one of these days. And we'll see you next week for the next episode of Tales from the Mat.